As the leader of your organization, you wear many hats, some of which you may be unaware you're actually wearing. When we look at organizations, we see layers of management, layers in the organization, and as you grow as a leader and as your organization grows, you will find more uses for those different layers. Most small to medium businesses, SMBs, do not have a C-level, a Chief Financial Officer, CFO, or a Chief Operating Officer, COO, and even larger organizations still do not have, in many cases, a Chief Sales Officer. But that's changing. The CSO role is increasingly important. After all, sales, the revenue driven by sales, the profitability that is derived from your selling activities is the fuel that powers your business. So as we look at this CSO role, we want to think in terms of when and how you should implement that position in your organization. Remember, if you don't have a Chief Financial Officer, you still have the CFO function, and that will fall to you. If you don't have a Chief Operating Officer, you still have the COO function, and that will fall to you. So if you don't have a CSO, well, guess what? You're it. Let's look at how this works for just a moment. Everyone has about the same mental capacity. How you and I have chosen to use our minds, what we have learned, what we know how to do, has been driven by the people who influenced us and by our personal interests. There are people in your organization who relish the opportunity to do task-level jobs, and they do it very well. You have people in your organization who enjoy, look forward to being middle managers, and they do it very well. So assuming for a moment everyone has about the same mental capacity, how do each of us use it? Using a simplified org chart. At the top we see the CEO or the president. Below that would be the C-level, which would include the Chief Financial Officer, Chief Operating Officer, and your CSO. And then below that, in larger organizations, there would be a VP level, and below that, a management or supervisory level, and then finally, the task level people, those who make things happen. Let's go back up to the top for a moment. Assuming you have about the same mental capacity as others, how do you use it? You're looking at the future. You must be the corporate visionary. Every organization needs a visionary. Someone has to be looking at the future. Where are we going as an organization? What are the changes that are happening in our market, our industry, our competition? What technological changes or demographic changes are going to impact our ability to serve our customers? That's the role of the visionary. So you spend as much of your time as possible looking out into the future, which means any moment you spend dealing with the day-to-day is a moment the vision was abandoned. So it's important that you take on the role of corporate visionary. On the next layer down, the C-level, the vision does not go out as far. The thinking does not go as far out into the future, but it is deeper in terms of implementation. That's the strategic level. That's where people are figuring out how we're going to make your vision happen. Below that is the tactical level. Typically the VP level, if you don't have a VP, then the tactical level would be at the management structure. These are people who are thinking about how to get things done now. They're thinking out maybe a month, 2 or 3 months into the future, but they're certainly not thinking far out into the future like you must. Then finally, the task level people are thinking deeper and deeper about how your organization functions. But they're only thinking much shorter term. So for your salespeople, they understand sales functionality. They understand a qualified and quantified feature benefit analysis. They understand how to do a qualified and quantified cost justification. You don't necessarily need to know how to do that, but you need to understand, and they need to understand, how those functions are leading you to your vision. So we start dividing up the responsibilities as we go down through the organization. Some people are thinking in more depth, in more detail, while people like you are thinking about the future. How is what we're doing right now going to impact what we will be doing in the future? The single most important function of leadership is to teach. It is not your responsibility to do, it is your responsibility to clone yourself, to cause other people to achieve. An adage I like to teach is, if the people you influence are not receiving accolades for what you influence them to do, you're not a leader. The only thing you should be best at in your organization is leadership. Leave the other tasks and strategies and tactics to other people, those people who will probably do them better. The single most important function of leadership is to teach others.